This is a basic overview of Lead Commerce. Today we're going to be presenting the application from the back office. The back office is where you will be spending a majority of your time. Now, Lead Commerce is a web-based application. What that means is you're going to access the application from a website. Today I'm on a MacBook Pro and I'm using the Google Chrome browser. Every user gets a username and a password. Your very first user, when you sign up for Lead Commerce, will be emailed to you with a temporary password, which you can change through the basic setup screens. The application itself, again, is web-based and is organized with these tabs here at the top. You can see the catalog tab, sales tab, customer tab, marketing, all the way through settings. The catalog tab is where you're going to import your products or items. Products or items are then associated with their corresponding SKUs. There's really two ways to get items into the system. The first is by creating them manually using the Create Master Item option on the right. Or another option is to go ahead and import your items through a CSV file. For those that don't know what a CSV file is, basically it's an export type that you can choose in your file menu of any Microsoft Excel file. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'll go ahead and create a new master item or master product using the Create Master Item. This takes me to the Create Master Item screen. The very first option that I need to punch in is the product type. In Lead Commerce, you can set up different product types. Product types are a way of classifying your products either as regular retail products, ingredients, components, kits or assemblies. And again, they're a higher level way of classifying your products. I then put in a name of my product. I can put in a price for my product and a cost. And then I put in a SKU ID or item ID. In this case, I'll just do something like widget. So that'll be my master ID. There's only a few other fields that are required to create an item. The first is on the dimensions section. I have to pass in at least a weight. And I'll go ahead and say this item is 1 pound. The other required field is vendor. Vendors are whoever you purchase this product from. In this case, I'll select the very first vendor, Synthetic Industries. And that's it. Those are the only required fields that I have to fill out in order to create an item in the database. So to finish what I've done here, I'll hit the Save Changes option on the right. And now I have my widget 44 created in the database. If we switch back to the master item or master product view, I can see that the widget is now created. And in addition, if I switch or click into the inventory section, I can now see the widget is also an inventory item. Now by default, because I just created this product as well as this SKU, Lead Commerce doesn't know of any available inventory for this particular item. In order to get inventory into the database, I would either A, have to do an inventory adjustment, or B, I could issue a purchase order for more product and then receive that item on that purchase order, which would then add stock to this particular SKU. I'm going to go ahead and issue a purchase order for more of this product. The way I do that is by clicking on the purchase orders option located right underneath the SKU. You'll notice on the right that there's again an orange button. This one says Create Purchase Order. I'll go ahead and select that. This takes me to the Create Purchase Order screen. The very first action that I need to perform to create a purchase order is to select the supplier to purchase this item from. I'll use the supplier search button to open up the search box and then search for that same vendor that I selected when we created the product, specifically Synthetic Industries. Now that I've added Synthetic Industries as the supplier, the next step is choosing the warehouse that I want to order product for. Lead Commerce is what we call a multi-warehouse system, which means that you can track inventory from multiple locations. I'll go ahead and leave the main warehouse selected, and so we'll be ordering more of the widget product for the main warehouse. The next step is saving this purchase order as a draft. When a purchase order is in a draft status, it allows you to create and add line items, change pricing, change quantities, without actually impacting your inventory levels. To add a product to a purchase order, you click on Products. The Products section now has two search options. I can either search for the individual SKU, doing what's called a master item search, or I can search for what we call case pack. Case packs are a way of indicating a larger quantity order when ordering from your supplier. I'll go ahead and search using the master search option. The second line item represents the product that I just added, specifically the widget 440. I'll go ahead and order 100 of these. I've now added 100 units of the widget 4040 to this purchase order. The PO is still in a draft status, so what I need to do is place the purchase order using the green button found on the right. You'll notice that the status of the purchase order now says pending from what it used to say, which was draft. Pending purchase orders means that you've issued a PO to bring more product in, but have yet to receive it. To receive inventory, you would click on the receiving section of the purchase order and then use the Receive Items button to indicate the quantities you are receiving. While a purchase order is in pending status, the On Order column will populate with whatever quantities of whatever SKU are on the PO. When you receive or start to receive quantities on that purchase order, you'll indicate the quantity you're receiving, which then will correspondingly update the inventory levels for that SKU. To see how this looks if we were to partially receive a PO, I'll click on Receive Items and just receive half of the 100 that we originally ordered. I'm indicating that I'm going to receive 50 out of the original 100 that were ordered for the widget 4040. If you click on the Conditions and Notes section, you can also indicate other metadata about the receiving side. Things like the date it was actually made can be entered. We'll go ahead and assume this was made in January of this year. You can also indicate expiration dates. So if your product expires, you can indicate that the expiration date for these particular 50 units will expire on 8/17/2016. You could also indicate a lot number for this particular 50 units of inventory. And of course, I could put notes or apply a certain condition to these 50 units of inventory. Let's go ahead and save those changes. You'll notice that now the received and remaining numbers have been updated automatically. I've received 50 and I have 50 left to receive. You'll also notice that on the left, the status of the purchase order now says partially received, whereas before we started receiving, it said pending. And then you'll also finally see that there's a record of those 50 units being received in terms of this purchase order and what's been added to inventory. Let's now go look at that same SKU again to see what has happened to the inventory levels. You'll notice the in-stock for the widget 4040 is now set to 50. you'll notice the available units is set to 50, but you'll also notice all the way on the right that the on order column is also set to 50 because we still have 50 units on order. That's one way of adding inventory into your database or into a certain SKU. The next step is let's go ahead and create a sales order for this particular SKU to see how the inventory levels get updated when sales orders are entered against this SKU. The way that I enter an order is by clicking on the Sales tab. From the Sales screen, again, on the right-hand side using the orange button, I'll select Create Order. I'm going to search for an existing contact in the database. The way I do that is using the Contact Search button. When I click on this button, it opens up the Contact Search page, and this is where I can type in a customer's last name, first name, telephone number, etc. I'll select Jane Jones, and then I'll save this as a quote. Similar to purchase orders, sales orders can be saved as a quote while you add line items, configure shipping, determine payment options, again, without impacting your inventory levels. To add a product to a sales order, click on the Products section, and then click on the blue Master Items Search button. You'll notice the field is pre-populated with your cursor. And what I'm going to do now is add that widget 4040 to this sales order. Let's go ahead and add 5 units of this particular product. You can see on the products section of the sales order that we've added the widget 4040 and that we've indicated we're ordering 5 at an item price of $250 per unit. The next step is to configure shipping. Clicking on the shipping tab, I notice that the same line item, widget 4040, coming out of the main warehouse for a total of 5 units, and then I see that the default shipping has already been pulled in to the order for me automatically. And I notice that this is going to Jane Jones and it's going to be shipped to San Francisco, California. Lead Commerce allows you to ship product either with what we call custom carriers, or if you use any of the traditional carriers like USPS, UPS, FedEx, or DHL. If you use any of those 4 providers, you can actually get the tracking and shipping labels directly from the Lead Commerce software. Let's say that I want to change this shipping line item from Stamps.com USPS to UPS. I simply click on the Calculate Shipping button. I choose the shipping provider drop-down and select UPS. It then makes a call to the UPS API account information and loads in the overall shipping cost in the top right-hand corner, and also allows me to select a class of service based on the warehouse that's fulfilling the order as well as the destination address. I'll go ahead and leave UPS ground pre-selected, then save and close. Shipping has now been configured, and you'll notice that we switched from USPS to the UPS provider going UPS ground as the class of service. The last step on placing a sales order is to indicate whether payment is going to be taken now or payment will be applied later. In Lead Commerce, payments are not required in order to place an order, and there are different payment methods that can be used. If I click on the purple Apply Payment button, and then click into the payment method dropdown, you'll see a list of some of the more prototypical payment methods. Authorize.net or Stripe allows you to process credit cards from Lead Commerce directly. I can type in the card number, security code, expiration and expiration month, and then process a credit card directly from the Lead Commerce application. Otherwise, I could choose cash, check, purchase order, card on file, wire transfer, cost center, credit memo, and also different terms in terms of purchase orders like net 15 or net 30. I'll go ahead and close this window and simply place the order without payment, which will reflect a balance due of $1,368.31. The way that I place the order is by clicking the green Place Order button. When the order has been placed, you'll notice that the order itself also gets a status similar to purchase orders. This order is in a pending status. Pending status means that all quantities and all line items have available inventory for that warehouse location. So I'll be able to ship out this order immediately because I have the inventory. Before we go ahead and ship this order out, let's go back to the SKU and look at what's happened from an inventory perspective. You'll notice that the SKU, specifically for the widget 4040, has an in-stock level of 50 units, available is now 45, committed, which was 0 before, is now 5, and we still have 50 units on order. Lead Commerce provides, from an inventory and stock level perspective, the idea that certain units of inventory will become committed prior to them being shipped. When we placed that sales order just a moment ago for the 5 units of the widget 4040, we ended up committing those 5 units to that sales order, which then leaves us with the remaining units to be sold of 45. If we were to sell the remaining 45 units and go over and above what we have still available, then you would end up with what's called a back order. A back order is a positive number that represents the overselling or overcommitting of available inventory. Let's go ahead and drill back down into the order. This time, instead of clicking on the Sales tab, I'll drill directly into the SKU itself and click on the Sales History section, which will then show me the order for those 5 units. There's our original order for Jane Jones, order 10,055, with a quantity of 5 units. And you'll notice the status is pending. I'll click into this record and it'll take me directly back to the sales order. To ship out this order, I'll simply click on Fulfillments, and then using the green New Fulfillment button, I'll go ahead and add those 5 units to this fulfillment record. You'll notice that the way Lead Commerce is designed, you can have multiple fulfillments associated to one given sales order. This is helpful especially when shipments are broken into multiple tracking numbers or multiple pallets or multiple boxes. Lead Commerce allows you to indicate what items went in what box. And again, the way we identify that is through a unique fulfillment record. In this case, this is fulfillment 58. Next, I'll click on the Pack and Ship button, and then I'll choose the Run Process dropdown. For this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and get our pick list, packing slip, and shipping label all in the same operation. I'll then choose Fulfillment 58 to process, and then I'll run the process. This will now send an email to demos@leadcommerce.com or whatever email address you might have associated with your record. The email will contain your shipping label, your pick list, and your packing slip, all of which can be sent to a printer or a thermal printer. You'll also notice that when I close the window, Lead Commerce has automatically updated the fulfillment with the corresponding tracking number for that shipment, and also that the order is now shipped in a ship status. If we go back and click on the SKU, You'll also notice that the inventory levels for the widget 4040 have been recalibrated. The committed is now 0 because we've shipped those items, and now in stock we have 45 and 45 available. The last component that I'll show you around LeadCommerce is the reports. Reports are actually built and designed by you. You can create different reports in different reporting libraries over here on the left. LeadCommerce has catalog reporting libraries, sales reports, and customer reports. Each different library has different report types that you can choose from and build. For example, if I click on the Create Catalog report, there are different report types in the Create Catalog report library. Things like product or master item reports, SKU reports, category reports, purchase orders, and supplier reports. The type of report that you want to run will be based on what information you're trying to extract from the actual database. Let's look at sales reports. There are a number of sales reports here in my library that I have created over time. I'll go ahead and run the sales report shipped balance due. The name of the report was provided and entered by me. The criteria was also filled out, as well as the columns for this particular report. Finally, on the Process tab, I'll go ahead and click Run Report, and this will basically go and look at the database and all of the corresponding orders in that database and determine which ones fit that criteria that I have currently entered for this sales report. The way that I pass in the dimension of time is by clicking on the Run Report button. The Run Report button allows me to pick a start date and an end date. I'll select January 1 of this year. The end date will be set by default to the current day. Your report will run in a matter of a few seconds, and you'll be able to download the results of that report by just clicking on the report line. Here, for example, is report runtime 77, and I can go ahead and select this, and it'll download the file directly to my computer. This file can then be opened up in Microsoft Excel or any spreadsheet software, or incorporated into some sort of a dashboard. This has been a basic overview of LeadCommerce. Today we talked about how to create products, how to import products, how to issue purchase orders and bring inventory in for your SKUs, and also how to enter orders and process shipments inside LeadCommerce. Finally, we looked at reporting and saw that you can create your own custom reports within different libraries within the back office. If you'd like more information on LeadCommerce, or to schedule a one-on-one session with any one of our support specialists, please contact sales@leadcommerce.com to schedule that.